Good morning, everybody. Let's hope that we're on the air. Everything is good. Rock and roll time. This is Health Talk. This is Hesh. And I don't know what I can bring to the table today, but whatever it's going to be, it will be a little controversial. If anybody's interested, I do have some of the superfoods on hand. So if you just give me a call or whatever, let me know. So we as humans are kind of a very weak animal that was born insufficient, with a body that needs chemical medications, vaccines, and meat and dairy for nutrition. Now, this is what we are led to believe from birth to death. Then, if you, and you will, have health problems later in life that need to be invasively removed with a surgeon's knife, and what is left after the surgery needs to be burned away with chemicals to prevent the damage from spreading. Now, by saying that, my nose has just grown 3 feet, because those are lies. And we've been told that most diseases and disorders are genetic. So, hey man, there's not much you can do about it, to prevent or to heal yourself, because your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents suffered from the same, and unfortunately you got the genes. And am I allowed to say bullshit on the air? No, I don't think so. I'm not allowed to say that, so I won't say it. So then what happens is you face depression, and if not already, daily, and then it gets the best of you, unless you take anti-anxiety medication and maybe some antidepressants. And then, oh yeah, your attention span is too short, so you're going to need ADHD meds, just like your kids do. And you know what all that advice is? More Pinocchio stuff. So America is the land of the medicated. And without the medical doctors who went to school for 8 years to learn how to juggle multiple prescriptions at one time, where would we be? I mean, without their incredible, vast knowledge of chemistry that they can't even explain to you when you get prescribed, where would we be? I mean, without surgeons to cut out the cancer, which is a chemically driven disease of the blood. Oh my God, how can we surprise and then survive? And then finally, America, where the drugs advertised on TV are like some commercial out of that movie Idiocracy, where the people are so stupid that all they do is suck on liquid sugar and watch TV all day. And then the drugs advertised today to help with arthritis and osteoporosis and depression and anxiety and allergies, it's nothing but an HOV lane to health destruction. And the rich doctors, I mean, they're ready, they're willing to remove your organs and anything else that would cost a small fortune to pay for their 3-story homes and their penthouses and their ritzy vacations. Hey, so why should you trust any doctor who's been to 8 years of school to learn about drugs and surgery? Right? Wrong. You should believe in second opinions, even if they come from the same theory that the human body is born inept and weak. Boom, wrong again. Examine your eating habits very closely. The mentality has been corrupted by blind faith in a system that offers chemical solutions for chemically driven diseases and disorders. So the word genetic is thrown around as if it always means hereditary, so people will accept sickness as normal. So what happens is we think that we're supposed to be on 20 meds by the time we're 80 years old. And people think that it's okay to have your appendix, your gallbladder, one lung, one kidney removed, just because the doctors tell you you can survive without them. But can you? And do you? Maybe you need all of your organs, because maybe they all do a specific job, and they work in tandem, they work together. And maybe you could be holistic and whole if you just ate the right organic foods and the superfoods and the spring waters and the herbal remedies. So let's look at it like this. If you take herbs and tinctures that have worked for healing humans for thousands of years, and then you're relying on a long history of proven practice in research. Now, if you take pharmaceuticals and you eat processed foods, you're basically hinging your health on 75 years of political corruption in those industries. Is that your doctor and advisor? Do you want to be sick? Do you want to live many of your days in hospitals and clinics, taking GMO medicine and eating genetically modified food from their cafeteria? I don't know. I don't think a lot of people really want to do that. So you have to wake up to who really cares about you and your health. There are people out there that are sharing vital information every day and discovering solutions that have been covered up by the U.S. schemes and plots to remove them. So you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. You just have to be healthy. So maybe it's time to wake up and it's time to smell the organic foods. So the other day, I'm looking at stuff, I have to, basically I live on the internet because I have to look stuff up to make sure that things are bona fide. One of the greatest long-term problems that health-conscious individuals face is the pervasive contamination of the food supply. For decades, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and other governmental agencies have allowed the multi-billion-dollar food industry to grow and process its products with hundreds of questionably safe chemicals and practices, and even worse, we, the public, are deliberately kept in the dark about many of them. So what kind of dangerous toxins are deliberately and secretly infused subtly into the food supply? Over 400 pesticides are licensed for use on America's foods. And every year, over 2.5 billion pounds are dumped on the croplands, on the forests, on the lawns, and in the fields. In a single meal, a person could easily consume residues of a dozen different neurotoxic, that's brain damaging, or carcinogenic, that's cancer causing chemicals. Yet, the Office of Pesticide Programs at the EPA, the Environmental Pollution Agency, does not include the potential for multiple exposures to the same pesticide when calculating permitted residual levels of a given compound. So the EPA, the Environmental Pollution Agency, scientists have found that at any time, if these residues were totaled, they would exceed 500% of the daily allowed intake. And even more, those chemicals have not even been tested for human safety, and the EPA doesn't even have a scientifically acceptable method for determining the risk of multiple exposures. Then, on top of the pesticides, we have bovine growth hormone, which is a genetically engineered synthetic version of a hormone naturally produced by the cows. And its purpose is to increase a cow's milk production by as much as 25%. I mean, it's estimated that the bovine growth hormone is injected into at least 30% of all the milk-producing cows. So the approval given by the Food and Drug Administration of the bovine growth hormone was in large part due to a Monsanto, who was the manufacturer of the bovine growth hormone, study of rats that had been fed milk laced with the bovine growth hormone. Well, originally the FDA reported no traces of bovine growth hormone found in the rat's blood. But then it was later found that the officials from the FDA never read the entire report, and it was found that 20 to 30% of the rats did have traces of bovine growth hormone in their bloodstream, and some developed cysts in their thyroid glands. So it's become really difficult to avoid bovine growth hormone because the Food and Drug Administration does not require the labeling of bovine growth hormone-laced products. In fact, Monsanto helped to sponsor the federal legislation which passed that prevents the milk producers from labeling their products as being free from bovine growth hormone, even when they are. In God we trust, all others pay cash. Now, on top of that, approximately 2,000 food additives, artificial colors, artificial flavors, stabilizing agents, texturizers, sweeteners, antimicrobials, they are permitted in our food supply. And the studies show that some of these additives are carcinogenic, like the food dyes, including yellow dye number 5, which is found in breakfast cereal, soft drinks, ice cream, candy, bakery products, and pasta. And then the additives to avoid include aspartame, bromated vegetable oils, BHA, BHT, MSG, nitrates, saccharin, sulfites, and food dyes. This is what's being dumped on us. Then, the proliferation of genetically modified organisms is another example of the devastating effects that the agribusiness has had on our food supply, because these foods break down the fundamental genetic barriers and permanently alter the genetic code of the plant by combining them with the genes of dissimilar and unrelated species. And there's tons of companies now using this gene splicing technology to produce never before seen genetic combinations. And there was this survey of field tested crops that was done by the Union of Concerned Scientists that found that 93% of genetic changes are performed to make food productions and processing easier and more profitable. And only 7% are done to improve the nutrients or the taste. So if you have food sensitivities, your next serving of corn or soybeans or tomatoes might be some kind of a Trojan horse, because they might bring some unsuspected allergens or toxins into your body. And it's even more alarming to know that there has been almost no safety testing. And since the altered substances are not even listed on the food labels, there is no way of knowing which foods contain them. So what do you do? What are you going to do? You're going to try to read a label? Monsanto and the biotech industry is spending a fortune. The Grocery Manufacturers Association spending a fortune on what? Defeating labeling of GMOs. How do you like that? They tell you it's absolutely safe. Oh, there's no problem. You can eat this stuff all your life. Everything is good. You want to label it? Hell no. No way. We don't want you to know what's in your food. Just trust us. It's safe. So much money. So, in fact, the Grocery Manufacturers Association has been found guilty of basically laundering money to defeat the GMO labeling effect in California, in Washington State, in New York. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They get money from the biotech industry, and then they say it's coming from other people, or they don't disclose the sources. This is what we are up against. You can't just go to Times or Foodland or Safeway and feel secure in buying something off the shelf, because most of it is genetically modified, or most of it contains all these pesticides and herbicides. I mean, it's like, oh, and then the flesh foods. Oh my God! I mean, you really like broiling antibiotics? You really like that, huh? And you really like having to eat a product that all its life has consumed genetically modified foods, which passes on to you? You don't mind that, right? Of course not. Why would you mind that? And what about all the chemicals that they pump in it and the bovine growth hormones? You don't mind that. You think that's fine. And you wonder why you have problems with your health? You are the problem. Why you have problems with your health. You are too freaking lazy to do anything about it. I mean, why would you bother reading a label? I'm telling you, if it says soy, corn, cotton, and canola, I don't care if the canola is organic, and it doesn't say non-GMO and it doesn't say organic, give it a miss, man. You're killing yourself. How many people out there get older and they have to go to the doctor and they have to take drugs just to survive? I mean, anyway, you know, I've been talking a long time and describing the pharmaceutical industry as a criminal racket. And recently, those comments have been vindicated. For example, the drug and vaccine manufacturer Merck was caught red-handed by two of its own scientists faking vaccine efficacy data by spiking blood samples with animal antibodies. Then GlaxoSmithKline has just been fined, okay, I don't want you to get a nosebleed, $3 billion for bribing doctors, lying to the FDA, hiding clinical trial data, and fraudulent marketing. Oh, it's not over yet. Pfizer has been sued by the nation's pharmacy retailers for what is alleged as an quote-unquote overarching anti-competitive scheme to keep generic cholesterol drugs off the market to boost their profits. So the picture that is coming out is basically one of a criminal drug industry that has turned to mafia tactics in the absence of any real science that would prove oh my God, they proved that their products to be safe and effective. And then you have the emergence of this extraordinary evidence of bribery and scientific fraud and lying to regulators and monopolistic practices that basically harm us, and is also making the doctors and the skeptics who defend big pharma and vaccines eat their words. So to defend the pharmaceutical industry today is to defend the mafia of criminal corporations that are proven they will do anything, absolutely anything, to keep their profits coming in. And it makes no difference who they have to bribe, what studies they have to falsify, or who has to be threatened into silence. They will stop at nothing to expand their profit base, even if it means harming or killing multiple innocents. So, in what is now the largest criminal fraud settlement ever to come out of the pharmaceutical industry, GlaxoSmithKline pleaded guilty and agreed to pay $1 billion in criminal fines, $2 billion in civil fines, following a 9-year federal investigation into its activities. And what were those activities? Routinely bribing doctors with luxury vacations and paid speaking gigs, fabricating drug safety data and lying to the FDA, defrauding Medicare and Medicaid out of billions, deceiving regulators about the effectiveness of its drugs, and relying on its deceptive practices to earn billions selling potentially dangerous drugs to unsuspecting you and me's. And this is just the part that they got caught doing. And they don't deny any of it. They simply paid, you ready for this? They paid the $3 billion fine like it was, giving a guy $1 on the street. They apologized to the customers, and they continue conducting business as usual. Oh yeah. In addition to bribing the physicians, GlaxoSmithKline has plenty of money to spread around bribing celebrities and other pimps for their products, and the company recently paid $275,000 to some doctor known as Dr. Drew, who promoted Glaxo's mind-altering antidepressant drug Wellbutrin. Then Merck, what they did was they falsified test data to fabricate a vaccine efficacy rate of 95% or higher. They spiked the blood tests with animal antibodies in order to artificially inflate the appearance of immune system antibodies. They pressured 2 virologists to participate in the fraud and subsequent cover-up. They used the falsified trial results to swindle the U.S. government out of hundreds of millions of dollars for a vaccine that does not even provide adequate immunization, and they intimidated the scientists, threatening them with going to jail unless they kept their mouths shut. So in that document, the 2 virologists say that they witnessed firsthand the improper testing and data falsification in which Merck engaged to artificially inflate the vaccine's efficacy findings. They also claim that because of the fake vaccine results, the United States has over the last decade paid Merck hundreds of millions of dollars for a vaccine that does not provide adequate immunization. So who is the biggest victim of Merck's fraud? The United States. But who is the ultimate victim? Who? The children. So according to the complaint that was filed, Merck has been using the same mumps strain, weakened from generations of being passaged for the last 45 years. So this information that is emerging shows that Merck's mumps vaccine is a complete medical farce. And those who blindly back their vaccines, the science bloggers, the quote-unquote skeptics, the doctors, the CDC, the FDA, they have been shown to be the most stupid, that have now destroyed their reputations by siding with an industry known to be dominated by scientific fraud and criminality. And what's that's the funny part. Because after decades of doctors and scientists and government authorities blindlessly and brainlessly repeating the mantra of 95% effectiveness, it all turns out to be the biggest pile of shit ever. Utterly fabricated. Quackity quack, quackity quack, quackity quack. And all those hundreds of millions of Americans who lined up to be injected with the MMR vaccines, they were conned into potentially harming themselves while getting no medical benefit. So people that are intelligent, people that listen to jerks like me who don't know anything, homeschooled parents, and awakened people who said no to vaccines are now coming out as the victors in all this, because by refusing to be injected with Merck's vaccines, they avoided being assaulted with a fraudulent cocktail of adjuvant chemicals and all but useless mumps strains over 40 years old. They protected their time, they protected their money, they protected their health. And those who refuse to be physically violated by the vaccines are once again turning out to be the smartest people in the world. No wonder they tend to be healthier than the clueless who line up to get vaccinated every year. So the fake vaccine efficacy numbers aren't the only troubles that Merck is facing. Because shortly after that False Claims Act was made public, Chatham Primary Care filed suit against Merck, and it alleged that Merck engaged in a decade-long scheme to falsify and misrepresent the true efficacy of its vaccine, that Merck fraudulently represented and continues to falsely represent in its labeling and elsewhere that its mumps vaccine has an efficacy rate of 95% or higher, that Merck knows and has taken affirmative steps to conceal by using improper testing techniques and falsifying test data, that its mumps vaccine is and has been since at least 1999 far less than 95% effective. That Merck designed a testing methodology that evaluated its vaccine against a less virulent strain of the mumps virus. And after the results failed to yield what Merck desired for the efficacy, they abandoned the methodology and they concealed the study's findings. They also engaged in incorporating the use of animal antibodies to artificially inflate the results by destroying evidence of the falsified data, then lying to the FDA. And then they threatened the virologist in their own vaccine division with jail if he reported the fraud to the FDA. They also designed a testing methodology that evaluated his vaccine against a less virulent strain of the mumps virus. And after the results failed to yield their desired results, they abandoned the methodology and concealed the findings of the report. And then, of course, they designed even more scientifically flawed methodology by incorporating the use of animal antibodies to artificially inflate the results, and that also failed to achieve their fabricated efficacy rate. So confronted with two failed attempts, they completely falsified the test data to guarantee the results it desired. And then, having achieved the desired, although false, efficacy threshold, they submitted those to the FDA and the European Medicines Agency. And then they took steps to cover up the tracks of his fraudulent testing by destroying the evidence of the falsified data and lying to the FDA. Then they also attempted to buy the silence and the cooperation of its staff by offering them financial incentives to follow the direction of the personnel overseeing the fraudulent testing process. Then they also threatened the virologists in their vaccine division with jail if he reported. And last but not least, they continued to conceal what it knew about the diminished efficacy of its mumps vaccine even after significant mumps outbreaks in 2006, 2009. We'll get back to this in a minute. 524-1080. Hello, you're on the air. I hope. Oh, not yet. Hang on. Hello.
Yeah, what I'm getting out of your dissertation is that the pharmaceutical companies and the chemical companies are just as corrupt as the politicians that are in our state and in government.
Absolutely. You know what I read in the paper the other day, and my jaw dropped? Ernie Martin wants to run for mayor. Oh, God, help us, please. God forbid. Ernie Martin, the guy who was single-handedly defeated every GMO labeling bill or initiative that has come his way, now wants to run for mayor. And you know what? He's probably going to get elected because the people are too stupid to do otherwise.
Well, already elected is our friend Brian Schatz. You listen to his TV ads, he talks only about fairness this, fairness that. But was it fair when he sneaked his twin brother in from California to a high-paying job in the Board of Education under the radars, so that job was not announced, so locals or people who've been working in the local Board of Education could have competed for that job? But no, he was sneaked in, and you could have heard this a pin drop when the silence as a result of this sneaky move he made while he was lieutenant governor, of course.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you think it was fair when Linda Lingle appointed 35-year-old babes to various positions as deputy directors from all kinds of agencies because she wanted to make sure she had a chicken in every pot? I mean, that's dikorama at its finest, you know?
Right.
I mean, is that fair? Do people Can people do stuff like that? But this is what happens, and nobody cares, and life goes on. But the point is, I personally think that I would have diarrhea if I ever encountered an honest politician.
Well, I think perhaps maybe there's one politician that's going to be running for governor that doesn't have any baggage, and that's Duke Iona. I haven't heard anything negative about him other than that he might be a little on the religious side.
Well, let me tell you something. I have a friend that used to be high up there in the sheriff's department, and he told me that when Duke used to be a judge, he used to show up in court without reading or even looking into or having any knowledge of the cases that he was presiding over, and he would just wing it.
Well,
I mean, this is what I'm told, you know. But and this is from the sheriff's department.
yeah. Well, that's a new one. I thought maybe we found a politician who had...
I mean, it's out there, you know. Well, what can you do? No matter who gets elected, we're going to get screwed anyway. So, you know, but I wouldn't want to vote for Muffy Hanneman. I would consider Jeff Edwards, but people would say, who is Jeff Edwards?
Yeah, who is Jeff?
Yeah, who is Jeff Edwards?
Well, you take a case...
Oh, Jeff Davis. There you go. It's Jeff Davis. And he's the guy that's the what? Independent?
Yeah.
Libertarian. But no one cares about the libertarians because, hey, they're not Democrats and they're not Republicans, so they're not bona fide. Give me a break. This is what we're up against.
Yeah, were you watching news reports about watching shots on television and shirt sleeves unloading pallets of...
That's political. That's the only reason they went there was to get votes.
Okay, well, answer this. Would you think he would have been doing this if he was elected outright?
No.
Absolutely. So you answered my question, and...
At least I'm an honest guy.
Anyway, thanks for...
Talk to you later. I got more calls than I can deal with. I don't know what to do here. I've never had this many calls since I've been on the radio. Oh, my God. Hello, you're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Hesh. Tom Berg calling.
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Well, I just wanted to offer a quick statement about GMO candidates.
Yeah, they're all GMO candidates.
Well, first of all, the one that got the nod, the endorsement from all the folks that want GMOs labeled, ironically went to Stanley Chang for counsel, and some of the folks that were defending his endorsement stated that, well, he's changed his position whereby, get this, he's even for county home rule on the subject matter and believes the states now have the right to label, and if elected to Congress, he has sworn that he would initiate a GMO labeling legislation. So here's my call to you. All those Stanley Chang folks out there, he's still in office until January. So while he's in the city council for the next few months, there's something going on called the HSAC, Hawaii State Association of Counties legislative package for 2015, meaning that when the new legislative body convenes in January of 2015, they're going to have recommendations, Hesh and your listeners, from all the counties combined. Now, you have testified over the years on the subject matter. Well, lo and behold, Stanley Chang, councilman, was solely responsible for taking that labeling GMO initiative out of the HSAC package.
I know that, and he voted against all the GMO. Tom, I got to tell you this. When I first saw his ad on TV where he said that I am for the labeling of GMOs, I almost crapped in my pants because this guy voted against all GMO labeling. So I sent him an email, and I said, how can you blatantly lie in your ad? I never saw the ad on TV after that.
Well, what I wanted to comment, my point was, is that Hesh,
yes,
he has and is in the position today to follow through. So let's take the whole election conversation you just had with your previous caller in the subject matter, that here we have someone who campaigned on the following promise. Well, guess what? He's still in office.
Yeah.
in position to execute, he could today.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Hey, you know what? Initiate a GMO labeling for the state legislature, that the legislature allow for labeling here for our citizenry, and he could do it. So I'm asking all your, because you had a caller one time defend Stanley Chang as the best thing since sliced bread. Let's have him follow through and ask Chang to take heed to his own calling.
Yes, and that's what I think. I think people should go online to get. What are the email addresses at the city council? It would be what, schang at
Honolulu.gov.
Honolulu.gov. schang at Honolulu.gov, and your subject matter would be GMO labeling, and your text would be put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
Short and sweet.
And attach a copy of the Vermont law.
Yeah, I mean, how many states with between the Monsanto, the rest of the biotech industry, the Grocery Manufacturers Association that was laundering money to defeat New York, Washington, California, Vermont. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and yet they say, our product is safe. There's no problem. You can eat it with no problem. And even though we're spraying the cornfields with the active ingredient in Agent Orange, don't worry, it's okay to eat it. Nothing's going to happen to you. Talk to the guys that served in Vietnam that were subjected to the spray and ask them if they would eat that crap.
Right. Well, you know, the folks that drink raw milk out there are still suffering from the nuclear tests in the 50s, and they're still seeking recourse with the federal government today.
That ain't going to happen. They're going to point to the other guy. No, it's not us. It's him. Back and forth.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Tom. Aloha. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's my favorite saying comes up all the time. In God we trust. All others pay cash. 524-1080. Hello. Hello.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, they Hesh.
How you doing, brother?
Oh, dear. I'm still on that wonderful stuff you're selling.
Yeah, it works, doesn't it?
Oh, well, 5 years now. They still didn't cut me open yet.
I know. I got to tell you something that is really going to blow your mind out. You remember when I blew my knee out in 1972, right?
Yeah.
And the worst thing I did was I had knee surgery. Okay, so I could not, my left knee, I could never really bend. It would hurt so much, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I had available to me was organic sulfur, and I because it got rid of my asthma, I take it twice a day, a teaspoon in the morning, teaspoon at night. Just the other day, I tried an experiment, because I haven't done this in a long time, and I can actually do a complete full squat with both knees, including the one that had the surgery, going all the way down with my butt almost on the ground, and no problem with the pain in the knee. So the sulfur has healed the scar tissue. It took, a couple of 2 or 3 years. I think in 1973 I blew the knee out. When I was 73, so that's 2 years ago. Completely. I have full range of motion with that knee now. 2 years. If I had not taken the sulfur, that knee would still be screwed up, and I still wouldn't be able to bend, Carl. That's how bad it is.
Well,
that's how good it is.
Maybe morning, it's by about 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's just about when you get on, I'm sipping my
your organic sulfur. It's crazy. I was talking to a friend of mine who's got to go for knee surgery. And I explained to him about my knee, and I explained to him, he says, oh my God, I hurt my knee and I can't even bend it. I said, 2 years. 2 years of taking the sulfur. 2 years I have full range of motion back in the knee that has surgery on it, where I'm allegedly bone on bone. And then I gave him information. I said, you have to ask your surgeon this question, because nobody will ask him the question. Because he tore his meniscus, which is what I did. And the question is, when you fix the meniscus, will I be left bone on bone, or will I have the padding between the two bones? And he's going to see the guy on Tuesday, and this guy has no idea that a person is going to ask that question, because nobody ever asks that question, because nobody ever knows that when they repair your meniscus or take it out, you are left bone on bone, which opens the door for knee replacement.
Well, nobody's telling the stories of what is done for them, and I keep telling the same story over and over. I had the BK up on the hill, went through the whole 9 yards of testing me again after 5 years, and they find no problems back. They said they don't need to come back to any checkup, with open heart surgery.
Crazy, yeah. And now no problem, right?
No problem.
No problem.
I'm still alive.
And people don't believe it. They don't believe it. Carl, I've been doing this show for what, almost 40 years already?
Yeah.
43 years, whatever. How long ago? 1981. So we're talking about 43 years. I've been on the radio. Okay.
Yeah.
In 43 years, I've only gotten behind two products. One is the sulfur, because I know it works, and the other is the superfood, because whatever it takes to build and strengthen your immune system is a win-win situation for the body. I have no problems. I mean, I'm still playing ball 3 days a week, and I work out in the gym, and I do cardio, and I do weights, and I hike the Hawaii Kai stairs, and I swim, and I do stand-up paddling, and I teach women's self-defense classes. I don't take any drugs. I don't have any meds. I don't go see the doctor maybe once every couple of years just to get a physical. And I'm in good shape, and it's all because of my diet.
Well,
and it's all because of the two things I take. Crazy.
I don't take no drugs.
Good man.
Well, what I wanted to talk to you about was, I go to Costco now and then.
Yeah.
And I have to take people in because I get in the cart, so they don't have a car or something.
Yeah.
So I take this lady now and then to Kaiser, but Hawaii Kai Costco.
Yeah.
And 2 times that I went in there, not more than that, but these 2 times I seen the same guy come in with this big woolly dog. It's a tan dog, and if the dog stand up, I'll be looking up at him.
Yeah.
And this dog, every time I see him, ticks are dropping off and walk. I try to catch the tick to take him to the manager and show him that these ticks
Oh my God.
get it, I can imagine how
people
many ticks this guy dropped off at Costa, and I never see him with a wagon. I never see him with anything in his hand. I don't know what he's doing in Costco. I guess just go pick up the goodies and go out or what.
Maybe.
But I can imagine all the other dogs. I see other people with dogs in there. They ever been checked for ticks and fleas and stuff?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why are they letting this kind of thing? We're talking about health problems. These guys are serving foods and these ticks are walking off dogs.
You gotta love it.
This is something. I love dogs. I get dogs from my house. I get 5 of them.
Wow.
And every week you take the teeth, comb with the fine thing, and you cannot get rid of the fleas.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Carl, I got more calls.
Okay, catch you later.
All right, brother. Thank you. Aloha.
Okay, bye-bye.
One more. Hello.
Hi, good morning, Hesh.
Hi.
Okay, what would you recommend for somebody, a man who has a hernia?
Surgery.
Oh, nothing else can do it, huh?
Not that I know of. Because you got something that's protruding, And my dad, when I was young, had hernias, and he used to wear one of those belts that had the padding that would keep compression on the area, but it's gone through the protective. Sir, I've had 3 hernia operations already. That's
okay.
It's
yeah, my sister says I broke him, but that's not true, right?
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God, you gotta love it.
Okay, so getting back to the pharmaceutical industry that we all love. Oh, yeah. Another interesting note in this whole thing is that President Obama and the U.S. Department of Justice absolutely show no interest in investigating Merck. Seriously. And even though the evidence was so convincing of the fraud, right, the Obama Department of Justice, which was led by, our famous Eric Holder, who's now facing serious questions over Operation Fast and Furious, chose to ignore all this stuff. So when the evidence of criminal fraud was brought before the U.S. Department of Justice, the Department of Justice looked the other way with a wink and a nod to the medical crimes taking place right under their noses. So who really cares if tens of millions of kids are being injected year after year with a fraudulent mumps vaccine? Hey, man, there's money to be made. And if you have to exploit the bodies of little kids for profit, hey, it's just business. You know what I mean? And adding to all this now, Pfizer has been sued by 5 U.S. pharmacies who accuse the company of monopolistic market practices. And according to the lawsuit, Pfizer conspired to prevent generic versions of their famous drug Lipitor from entering the market. Why? To protect billions in profits while making sure the patients did not have access to more affordable cholesterol drugs. And how much do they sell worth of Lipitor every year? Hey, what's $10 billion? Who cares? So now Pfizer is being accused of obtaining fraudulent patents, engaging in sham litigation, entering a price-fixing agreement to delay cheaper generics, and entering arrangements with pharmacy benefit managers to force the retailers to buy more Lipitor. So one of the most astonishing realizations in all this is that given all the criminal fraud and bribery and misrepresentation and lying to the FDA and price fixing and the other crimes that are going on in the pharmaceutical industry, don't you think somewhere somebody might be arrested and charged with a crime? Don't you think? No. To this day, not a single pharmaceutical CEO, marketing employee, or drug rep has been charged with anything related to the fraud. Because in this country, drug company employees are above the law, just like the top mafia bosses in a bygone era. So how insane is this? Check this out. Imagine if you, an individual, went around town bribing doctors, falsifying data, selling fraudulent products to the government, lying to the regulators, engaging in antitrust price fixing, and threatening your employees into silence. What would happen to you? Do I have to say it? You'd be rotting in prison as the subject of an FBI investigation or a Department of Justice prosecution. That's what would happen to you. But then, why is it okay for a multi-billion-dollar corporation to carry out the same crimes and get away with it? Why are the CEOs of the top drug companies given free passes to commit felony crimes and endless fraud? I'll tell you why. You're not going to like the answer. Because this country has become a nation run by the crooks for the benefit of the crooks. It's one big country club, as George Carlin used to say, and baby, you ain't in it. So I am hoping that you're getting the bigger picture in all this. If these drug companies routinely bribe doctors, falsify data, defraud the government, commit felony crimes, what else would they be doing for profit? Would they falsify efficiency data on other prescription drugs? Would they exploit little kids for deadly vaccine trials? Would they invent fictitious diseases to sell more drugs? Would they unleash bioweapons to cause a profitable pandemic? Would they conspire with the CDC to spread fear to promote vaccinations? Would they silence whistleblowers who try to go public with the truth? Would they give people cancer through stealth viruses and vaccines? Would they destroy the careers of medical science who question the pharmaceutical industry? Would they force a medical monopoly on the entire U.S. population through a socialist healthcare legislation? Damn well they would. And they're doing all these things right now. And if you don't believe me, just remember 5 years ago when I said the drug companies were engaged in criminal conspiracies to defraud this country. Nobody believed that. And now, over a 9-year investigation, all that stuff has been proven to be true. So, he says with a straight face, what do? I can't do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it for you, because if you don't do it for you, ain't nobody else going to do it. The drug companies are going to lie to you. The doctors are going to lie to you. The mainstream media will never, ever, ever, ever run any kind of a letter or an article or anything that would go against their advertising dollars. Last week, they printed an article about GMOs being fostered by the fear-mongers. I responded to that. I never saw that letter that I responded to it appear in their newspaper. They ain't going to do that. They're just... The media is a hooker for big business. Short and sweet. They exist only because of advertising dollars and newspapers that they sell. I'll tell you one thing. If nobody ever bought the Star Advertiser again, and everybody told them, become an honest newspaper, they would shit in their pants. Oh, I'm not allowed to say that on the air. Oh my God, I'm sorry. But that's what would happen. So you have to take responsibility for you. It's like we can only point you in the right direction. We can only lead you to the water hole. We can tell you why one water hole is contaminated and one water hole is not contaminated. But we can't make you drink the water out of the pure water hole and stop you from drinking the water out of the contaminated water hole. We can only get you to the point. You got to start taking responsibility for you, because if you don't, no one else is going to care about you. No one else will do it. So I'm doing, I got 5 more shows to do for Doc Mike on American Voice Radio, and it's fun. But the point is that this show now, which is being streamed, is now being archived on American Voice Radio, so it's reaching a lot more people, and hopefully we'll get people's attention. So I want to remind you all, the organic sulfur crystals work. I have full range of motion in the knee that I never thought I would ever be able to bend again, and it only took 2 years. And no physical therapy in the world was going to get me to that point. Something else had to do it. I have a product that's a superfood. Hey, I don't know if it works or doesn't work, but I know what's in it is building and strengthening my immune system, so I'm hooked. And I just do what I do. My whole purpose for doing this is to inform you, to let you know stuff that nobody wants you to know about because there's too much money involved. So you gotta take responsibility. I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are, you still have a life ahead of you. Every day you gotta wake up, every day, every breath you take. Why can't it be clean? Why does it have to be laced with asthma? Why does it have to be laced with arthritis? Why do you have to have high blood pressure or diabetes or constipation? You don't. But it's up to you. It ain't up to me. There ain't nothing I can do about it except hope that the biotech industry isn't waiting downstairs with baseball bats or rifles. Oh my God, they're here! Oh, no! What am I? Anyway, so all I can say is I'll catch you all next week, and we'll let George Harrison do his thing, and see you all next week. Aloha.